Hello everyone, and welcome to part 5 of solving quadratic equations. So before we get into it, I just want to remind us of where we've already been. So if you're faced with a quadratic equation, one thing that you can do is you can suck some stuff out of the quadratic equation and simplify everything. Another thing that you can do is you can solve an easy trinomial. That would be like x squared minus 2x plus 5 or something like that. And I don't even know if that will work, so don't get too emotionally attached to that. Another technique that we have already learned is you can look for perfect squares, and then you can factor those pretty easily. And so this is our fourth technique that we're going to learn now, which is called grouping. Grouping is especially helpful when you have lots of terms that you're trying to deal with. So for instance, for our first problem, let's do 6x squared plus 3xw plus 8x plus 4w. So we have lots of terms here. We have 4 terms, so it's bigger than what we have been working with in the past. And if I look at this, it is not clear to me that there is a certain number that I can suck out, right? It looks like I can suck 2 out, except 2 won't work for 3. And it just is not ideal. So we are going to learn a new technique. Now, this technique seems complicated, but with a little practice, I think you'll get used to it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to slice this equation into 2 parts. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how do you know where to slice it? And the answer is that because you are just learning this for the very first time, we're going to wind up slicing it in the middle. In real life, you might have to do some manipulating in order to get your equation pretty. But for these first round of problems, you can just assume that you're going to slice it in the middle. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this part of the equation and this part of the equation separately. So let's do just this part of the equation. Let's pretend like that's all we have. Now what can we do to simplify that? Well, now we're going to suck things out. We can suck out a 3x. And we would multiply that. We would multiply it by 2x plus w. Is everybody with me there? Okay. Then we need a plus sign. And then we look at this side of the equation. And what can we do over here? Well, we could suck out a 4. So I will suck out a 4, leaving me with 2x plus w. Now I am excited because do you see what has happened? For both sides of the equation, I have sucked out something, leaving me with the same terms in the parentheses. So 2x plus w and 2x plus w are the same. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to suck out again, except this time I'm going to suck out everything that's in parentheses. So I'm going to suck out 2x plus w, leaving me with 3x plus 4. I have now factored my long polynomial. Now, just in case you don't believe me, I know you believe me, but let's just pretend that you were a doubter. Let's solve it over here. 2x plus w times 3x plus 4. Let's just work it out. So 2x times 3x will give me 6x squared. 2x times 4 will give me 8x. W times 3x will give me 3wx. And w plus 4, or w times 4 will give me 4w. I now have accomplished my goal. It's in a slightly different order. These two need to be switched to be 6x squared plus 3xw plus 8x plus 4w. But you can see I'm right back where I started. So we're going to suck out a number. We're going to cut our equation in half. We're going to suck out a number, and then we're going to suck out the parentheses. The key here is getting your parentheses to equal. If you can't get your parentheses to equal, then you're just wasting your time. All right, let's do another one. Let's do, I'll get a fresh piece of paper. Let's do x to the third minus 5x squared plus 4x minus 20. So again, you look at that and you think, there's not really much I can do with this using our old techniques. So I'll try a new thing. So I'm going to whack it in half. And again, for our purposes right now, you can just assume that you whack in the middle. After you've done about, 100 of these, then it won't be so surprising when they flip the orders around on you. Anyway, so here, what can we suck out? We can suck out an x squared. That will leave us with an x minus 5. Plus sign. What can we suck out over here? Well, let's suck out a 4. X minus 5. Now we have two x minus 5s. So our next step is to suck those out of both of these terms. Think of this as a whole term. This is a whole term. Now we're sucking that out. So that'll be x minus 5 times x squared plus 4. So notice that our plus and minus signs, those all wind up inside the parentheses. And so we have two things that multiply together. And again, because it's hard to visualize all of this, I'm just going to come over here and prove it to you that this works. X times x squared is x to the third. X times 4 is 4x. Negative 5 times x squared is negative 5x squared, and negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. You can see that other than these two being flipped in a different order, it's the same problem. So it checks. All right, we'll do one more. Let's do 2x squared y minus 10x squared w minus 7y plus 35w. All right, so we're going to whack it in half. Whacking. Okay, so now just looking at this side of the equation, what can I suck out? I can suck out a 2x squared. I can't suck out the y because I have no y over here. And I can't suck out the w because I don't have any w over here. But I can suck out the 2x squared. That leaves me with y minus 5w. Y minus 5w is what I get. Plus, still a plus. Now I look at this side of the equation. I have negative 7y plus 35w. So how am I going to simplify that? Well, I'm going to suck out either a 7 or a negative 7. Which one do you think I should suck out? I'm going to suck out the negative 7. That way I can have a positive y inside, which is what I want based on this parenthesis over here. Plus a negative 7, that's going to have to be a negative 5w. Okay, so now I look at my parentheses and they're the same. I know I wrote this with a plus minus and this one with just a minus, but mathematically they are the same. So I will now suck out the parentheses here. So I get y minus 5w, and then in the second parentheses I put the 2x squared minus 7. And now I'm done. Now if you wanted to prove it to yourself, you could come over here and you could multiply it all out just like we did before, but it works. I promise it does. Okay, that's called grouping. Now again, when they give you problems for now, things are going to be in a nice order so you can just whack in the middle, okay? As you get more used to this process and as the problems become more advanced, then you might have to switch the orders around in order to accomplish what you want. But for right now, just whack in the center.